start with a thought exercise. You guys take yourselves back to your early days in the workforce. You're right out of school. You've got your first real professional job. For the first time in your lives, you're making money. You're making real money. The problem is, it's not a lot of money. You're able to have a level of lifestyle that probably aligns with your life stage. What you're not able to do really is sock a lot of that away, save money for eventually purchasing a home or making investments. If you want to do that, you have to make a big lifestyle change that most of us at that age, some of us at other ages, most of us at that age aren't willing to make that sacrifice. So what I'm going to talk about this morning is a policy that addresses that issue, but more importantly, will help to stop and ultimately reverse the loss of intellectual capital that's holding our state back, also what we commonly call the brain drain, or I like Matt's term actually, brain bleed. What if I told you, take yourself back to those early days, you as a professional again, say you've been in your job for about 3 years, okay? You've been working here in Mississippi for 3 years, and you're ready to make a little more money, you're ready for some kind of upward mobility, you start looking around and you find a position, you find an upgrade, you're gonna make a little more money, but you have to move, you have to go out of state. Most of our history, that's what's happened. People have moved out and taken work elsewhere. And nobody can blame them. And once you move out, as Matt underscored, you're probably not coming back. But putting yourself in that young professional's position, what if I told you if you stay for 2 more years, you'll get a check for $5, $8, $10, $15, maybe $20,000. I think that would get the thumbs up from a lot of our millennial audiences. That kind of goes back to this principle, and this is what this policy we're going to talk about today is based on. And this, I consider this statement very apolitical. I don't think it goes left. I don't think it goes right. I consider it actually an economic principle that, generally speaking, in most cases, if you want more of something, you subsidize it, and if you want less of something, you tax it. In most cases, that's going to generally play out to be true. And this proposal that we're going to talk about today, this concept legislation, really relies on that first idea of if you want more of something, if you want to retain more of your intellectual capital, let's subsidize it. So first of all, why is this an issue? Just real quick, I'm going to go over some stats that are incredibly mind-blowing. Okay, we talk about brain drain. These are mind-blowing. And let me say that is Jake McGraw here this morning? Okay. Most of this data and stats and information come from Jake is with the Winter Institute. He's the editor of Rethink Mississippi. He's a brilliant researcher, great statistician, super amazing resource. So if anything's wrong, it's Jake's fault, is my point. Mississippi was the only state since 2010 in the Southeast to experience a net out-migration. In fact, during that period of time, we were only one of 2 states that experienced a net out-migration in any 1 year. The other was Louisiana for 1 year. Every other southern state experienced an in-migration to varying degrees. So we're already starting out in the hole. But who are these people that were leaving? Who are these people that are out-migrating? What do they look like? Because just out-migration in and of itself is not positive or negative. You have to look at what's the makeup of the population that's leaving. Did this from 2 standpoints. First, educational attainment. Let's look at those people. And this is, I believe this is from 2011 to 2015, these stats are. And as you can see, we are losing the more highly educated, bachelor's degree and better, at a much, much, much faster clip than all the other education groups. And those are the people that theoretically and most of the time practically have the most potential for high wage earning, have the most potential to raise Mississippi's per capita, which is really what's going to start an economic uptrend for us. Second way to look at these people is from the income that we lose from their outmigration. And what does this mean? This simply means the wages that these people make, the dollars that they make, and then in turn, those dollars go back into the economy in various forms and facets. Before I show you the big, mind-blowing number, let me just say that every year that our outmigration trends continue, you can add another $100 million on top of what we're already losing. Every year these trends continue at their current rate, another $100 million. So what is that added to? Since between 2011 and 2015, $1.4 billion has outmigrated from our state. Think about that. Think about what just retaining half that, retaining $750 million of earning power could do for this economy. That's truly mind-blowing. So what can we do? What can we do to incentivize people, especially these high wage earners, potential high wage earners, to stay here? Or ideally, what can we do to turn our brain drain into a brain gain? That's what this policy, this concept legislation is about. I have an initiative called the Fast Forward Mississippi Initiative, and for about 4 or 5 years now, we've been working on developing policies that will do just that will reverse the brain drain. We're calling it, by the time it gets on the floor in the legislature, it will have some big fancy name. Right now, we're just calling it brain drain legislation. How does this work? What is the program? To be eligible for it, you must be a recent graduate of any accredited institution of higher learning. And this is anywhere in the world. All right, the object here is brain gain, ultimately. So we don't want to be exclusive. We want to be very inclusive. Any institution of higher learning in the world, you're eligible for this program. You must, within 1 year of graduation, become established as a Mississippi taxpayer. Essentially, you take a job in state, you pay state income taxes. If after 5 years of employment, and 5's a magic number, if after 5 years of employment, you have remained a qualified Mississippi taxpayer, then you would receive a lump sum refund of the state income tax that you have paid in over that 5 years. If you then use this refund to turn around and purchase a home or commercial property, so any property anywhere in Mississippi, essentially putting down roots, then you receive that lump sum refund 100% tax-free. If you have a business that is organized in Mississippi, either a limited liability type or you're a shareholder in a corporation that is organized in Mississippi, then you receive that payment tax-free. If you do not meet those previous 2 bullets, you still get your tax refund, but there's a one-time tax that the state applies of X amount. We're having the bill scored now to figure out exactly what that needs to be. But if you're in the program, you're still going to keep the vast majority of that. I'm going to say around 90% of that one-time lump sum payment. And these lump sum payments are going to mean more to higher wage earning professions than they are to those that are maybe not in that bracket. So that's the benefits for the individual. That's the incentive. That's the subsidy to keep our knowledge workers here. So what does the state get out of it, other than the downstream effect of having higher wage earners in state? The state, we would like to see anyone who's in the program, the state place those funds in an interest-bearing fund. So if an individual doesn't make it 5 years, state keeps all the money. If the individual makes it 5 years, eligible for the lump sum repayment, state still keeps the interest that was accrued during that 5-year period. So this essentially is the concept legislation for our strategy from a policy standpoint of reversing Mississippi's brain drain. This was a bill in another form on the floor of the House, and I believe 2015. And to be quite honest, it was at a very imperfect form in 2015. Is Russell Morrison here? Raise your hand. Russell, he's been a big resource for this. We presented this at a talk about a year and a half ago, and Russell came to me and said, I've got some great ideas for really improving this concept, closing some of the loops, making the incentive a little bigger. Thank you, Russell. And I think what we've got now is the conceptual framework for a piece of legislation that could be really strong and really, really impacting. If you've got any questions, that's my contact information. I have a real job, not just doing this. That's what the MWB is about. So if we really want feedback. It only makes this concept stronger. So if you have any, please don't hesitate to reach out and talk to us. Thank you, guys.